Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm the anime trainer, and today we're going to talk about your 1 rep max. Your 1 rep max is the most amount of weight that you can lift a single time with good form. I say that because if I don't say that, people are going to be like, oh, this cat back deadlift that I just did is going to be my new 1 rep max. And while technically you did lift the weight, it's awfully dirty and you shouldn't base any of your training values off of it because that's a terrible idea. Obviously, a 1 rep max in a competition setting is something entirely different, but your training 1 rep max, the thing that you can lift the most amount of weight one time with good form, is what we're talking about today. And that should always be the thing that you're basing your training sessions off of, because if you don't, you're going to end up lifting more weight than you can with good form more frequently than you ought to, and then the next thing you know, Snap City. So 1 rep max, most amount of weight that you can lift one time with good form. And so I'm going to show you a tool that I use all the time. It's free, it's really simple, and I like it. I'm not sponsored by them at all. I just am throwing it out there because I use it a lot. Strengthlevel.com, their 1 rep max calculator. They have lots of different things on here, and they also have standards, bench press, deadlift, squat, shoulder press, also body weight stuff that you can test yourself against to see what your standards are: beginner, novice, intermediate, advanced, elite. But today we are mostly just concerned with 1 rep max calculator. So for the 1 rep max calculator, you may not know how to calculate your 1 rep max apart from doing the 1 rep max. So I don't recommend most people that are beginner, novice level people to try to actually attempt a 1 rep max, because if you are attempting a 1 rep max and you're not used to training, your form is going to be terrible. So the best option that you have is to go for a smaller weight like your 10 rep max, which is the most amount of weight that you can lift 10 times with good form right before you fail. So you basically are 10 is the last one you can get, and 11's not happening. That's your 10 rep max. And then from there, we can extrapolate and figure out what your 1 rep max is. So if your 1 rep max is on the bench is 225 pounds, 2 plates, obviously 1 rep max is 225. 100% of that is 1 rep, 225 pounds. So at 95%, we are looking at 2 repetitions, which is 213 pounds. So if you round it up, 215 you might be able to get. 90%, 4 reps, 85%, 6 reps, all the way down to 75%, which is 168 pounds, probably 165 pounds, just because if we go to 170, you might not actually get that last rep. It's 165 pounds. 10 rep max is what we're looking at here, because obviously if you tried to go one more, probably not going to get it. So 165 pounds, 10 rep max, we can use that to figure out what our 1 rep max is, but we already know what our 1 rep max is. So you would start with a lighter weight, and something like that you can very easily move for 10 reps, and then you would add 10%, 15% to that over the course of the next 5 sets to try to figure out what your 10 rep max is. And when you find that 10 rep max, then you can put it in here, say, okay, I did 100 and maybe ended up doing 175 pounds 10 times. Calculate 1 rep max. Oh, my 1 rep max is 233 pounds. That's fantastic. So we've got that ability to figure out what our 1 rep max is. And so even if you can't do that because this is weird, probably hit 230 before you have to not be able to put up weight. So what if we have this issue here where we've got 233.3 pounds? We can't really put that on the bar unless we have really specialized tiny weights, and those are sort of expensive, and then you also don't want to end up losing them in a bag or something like that. So what do? Well, we try to find something like this. So we know that 90% of our 1 rep max is 210, which is something we can actually put on the bar, and we know that that's our 4 rep max. So that basically equates to this in terms of lifting. So 210 for 4 reps is the equivalent of 233.3 pounds. So if we do that, if we do 4 reps in one session, and then 5 sessions from now, we end up doing 6 reps with it, then we know that, oh, okay, I did 210 pounds for 6 reps. Oh my new 1 rep max is 243.9 pounds. That's just sort of an oversimplification of what I'm talking about here. But I did use this calculator to kind of do that same thing when I was doing Wendler's 531 a couple of years ago. You'll see here on this list, let me move this over a little bit so you can see what's going on with the actual bench numbers here and the squat numbers. So my bench has always been abnormally good compared to everything else. I'm just naturally sort of good at it. So I've got my bench numbers here. I started off 215 pounds times 11. So 215 pounds times 11 puts my 1 rep max estimate at 293.8. So I couldn't necessarily put 293.8 pounds on there. So the idea is using sub-maximal training. I then say, well, okay, well, what do I need in order to beat that next week? So if I went up to 225 pounds, because that's how that's going to work, 225 pounds, how many 293.8, how many reps do I need in order to beat that? Okay, I need 10 reps. So if I had gotten 10 reps on the 225 pound week next time, I actually would have been stronger than the previous week, but I ended up getting 11 reps the next week. And then we've got 240 pounds on the next week, 240, 240. And then what would I have needed to beat that? So we'll go to 9, 8. So I would need 9. So we needed 9 reps at 240 to beat the previous week of 225 at 11. And now you'll kind of be like, holy crap, these are some really high rep numbers here. And honestly, this was partially my fault for starting too light in the program, just because I thought, I don't want to go too heavy. I don't want to start with too heavy of loads. And then next thing you know, that ended up me doing some really nasty high rep stuff in the squat and bench, and even in the deadlift actually. The problem with that is that the further you get away from your 1 rep max in terms of repetitions, the further you get away from it, the less accurate this is going to be. So even though this says right here, I'm going to move this back over so you can see this. Even though this says right here that 50% of your 1 rep max would be 30 repetitions, the problem with that is that let's say that somebody who had never done any high rep training tries to put 50% of their 1 rep max on the bar and then do 30 reps. They might not actually be able to do 30 reps because they don't have the high rep training available for it. So they just don't even have the fuel available in the muscle to do that number of repetitions. And in the same way, somebody who can do 30 reps with 155 pounds, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to do 309 pounds if they've never touched anything that's close to their 1 rep max before, because they've just sort of trained themselves into only doing one certain kind of thing. So this is a helpful tool. It's a tool. It is not the end-all, be-all, this is what you're going to get. So if you look at this and you say, okay, it says my 1 rep max is, 309 pounds, then, if I come down here and I do 24 reps with 174 pounds, 26 reps with 174 pounds, 26 reps. Oh, that means my 1 rep max is 325 pounds. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case, because you could be somebody who was making a transition to high rep calisthenics into weightlifting and just have really, really good muscular endurance. It's not going to translate in the same way. So, you need to take that with a grain of salt, and you're going to have to kind of experiment with it. If you're already used to doing high weight, as far as like close to your 1 rep max training, these numbers are going to be more accurate for you when you're doing stuff, when you're trying to figure things out. If you're trying to figure out what your 1 rep max is based on higher repetition counts, it's not going to be as accurate. So just take that into account. As a point of reference, when I got down here to doing, let's see here, we'll just say 230 times 18. 230 times 18. I said my 1 rep max was 368. Okay, that was actually pretty accurate at that time. Let me look at a different one here. We'll do the deadlift for 19. So I did 275 for 19. Okay, so I did 275 for 19. I did a lot of repetitions. When I went to go test my 1 rep max, it was actually about 425. So it was a little discrepancy there in the calculations. Like I said, it's a roundabout thing. It's going to give you an idea, but it's not going to be 100% of, accuracy. So just keep that in mind. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a run through of this tool and what it's good for, and kind of introduce you to the idea of using 1 rep max calculations for understanding why you might do a program at a lower percentage of your 1 rep max with more repetitions. Well, why wouldn't I just lift more weight? Well, because you can't, if you've got a gap here and you're stuck on 225 for 5 for 6 weeks, and you're like, why can't I break through this plateau? Well, it's because you can't lift another repetition to elicit the response. If you went down a little bit in weight and did more reps, you could actually hit that little sweet spot that would push you past that plateau. But that's not something that people want to do. They don't want to take weight off the bar. They want to put more weight on the bar. But we're going to, try to think about science here and how we're going to try to, train smarter, not harder, and elicit the response necessary to create the change that we want to see. All right, guys, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm going to try to get back into the swing of things here. This is the first real video that I'm editing here. I've got another editor working on some stuff, so hopefully that comes out pretty soon. Thank you guys once again for watching this video. And until next time, I'm the Anime Trainer. Good luck and train hard.